Hey guys, today I'm going to be fixing one of the most common problems that you get on your V6. As you can see there, the pink, I've got a coolant leak. Most mechanics misdiagnose that as a leak coming from the water pump. I've already changed the water pump. I changed the water pump about 6 months ago, and from then it's continued leaking. And I figured out that the leak is coming from the coolant inlet hose underneath this intake, where this pipe connects up to the head of the car. And at the moment I'm draining the coolant so I can get started on this process. And to drain the coolant, all you need to do is get under the car and unscrew that blue screw there, and the coolant will start to drain. I bought myself new seals to go on the inlet gasket. I got these off eBay for about $30. There you go. And I really recommend buying yourself one of these repair manuals. They're really good and extensive. Anyway, to get started on this project, you need to take the intake manifold off. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one screw at the back, one bolt at the back here, and the intake manifold will come off. You might also need to remove your intake box with your filter and all. I've got an aftermarket one, so mine's a bit easier to remove. Well, I'll get started now since the coolant stopped dripping out. Yeah. Alright guys, to remove the intake manifold, it's a 13mm socket, so just go ahead and get started. In that book it says to remove them and tighten them in a sequence, and make sure the car's full when you're doing this, otherwise you'll risk the chance of warping the head. Last one. Now that all those ones are undone, you need to undo your air inlet hoses, which I'll do now. I'm going to clean my filter. Need to unplug the air breather hose from the inlet and the map sensor, and that comes out. And there's a few air hoses, air breather hoses you've got to disconnect from the manifold as well. There's one there, another on the other side. There's a couple around the back, there's one here. Lift this up, there's a clip there, holds on. Fast it up. size. Those out of there. I swear there's another hose on the back here somewhere. Just lift that off. Yep, there's another hose here. Just comes up there. And there's a connector on the back. Might just be easier to go through it. With a 7mm. The 10mm. There's a few air hoses here, so just be careful not to pull it out before unplugging any of them. There's also a connector back here that you've got to unplug as well, which I'm doing now. Oh, that's the other thing. You gotta unplug the throttle cable, throttle position sensor. Yeah, that just pulls out. Just went to anyway. You put a little grey plug back, a little grey plug on the bottom, you pull it back, and it should just pull out. There you go. Something plugged in on the back here. Can turn it on its side. Don't know if you guys can see that. There's a plug. When it focuses. Too much glare. There's that plug there, right there. And you've got to disconnect behind the manifold, intake manifold. I'll just do that now. And I just unplugged the one down the back. There's a little tab that you have to push on the top of it, and yeah, that plug just comes out easy. Now the whole manifold should just come out. Just lift it up. breather hose. Just unplug that one. The manifold should come out. Is there? Now we need to get to that part there, as you can see where it's been leaking from. You can clearly see there, it's been leaking from there. No near the water pump, above the water pump. And I'm going to remove the inlet hose, which is that part there, and replace those seals. I might just remove that hose, make it easier for me as well. As you can see, those seals aren't doing much at all. It's pretty flat. As you can see here, the old seals, pretty flat. This one here was the main one that was leaking. It's pretty flattened out as well. I've got the new ones here, which I'm about to fit on. So I'm going to need to remove these old ones. Oh yeah, it's pretty cracked. Useless. Just want to give it a bit of a wipe. Alright, it's a little bit cleaner now. Got most of the old gasket out of there. It's important to get most of the old gasket out of there. Now I'm going to put the new gaskets on, which I bought online for about $30, which is not too bad. Seeing as holding them and selling them for about $60 for these 2 rubber seals. Unbelievable. There you go, there's the old one, which is all cracked and damaged. And see all those cracks. It's a new one. It just slips over. It's pretty easy to install. And here's the other one compared to the old one. This one was not too bad, just a little bit crusty. Just a little bit crusty. It's got a few cracks in it. I don't know if you can see them. And the new one. The new one just pops in. That hole there. And it's ready to put back on the car. Easy as that. There we go, now we're putting that inlet hose back on. That goes back in the expansion tank. This hose here goes outside. This hose here goes back on here. You can feel that it's a tight fit already. These bolts just a bit of a clean. These back on. Show me that too tight. What you do. Now I'm gonna go and put that hose back on, and I'm gonna be reinstalling the inlet manifold back on. And this job should be done, and I'll be putting new coolant in, and I'll be cleaning. I'm gonna clean up all that old coolant, and then that will show me if I've done the job right, see if it's still leaking. And yeah, alright guys, now that's back on. When I start putting back on the inlet manifold, and before you put that on, you might want to replace the gasket that goes in between that inlet manifold. I had to replace mine because my old one, when I was taking off the inlet manifold, it broke. So I just went down to my local parts store and bought one. I'm going to be putting back on the inlet manifold now. There it is, with the new gasket on it. And you want to start I'm sorry about the glare. You want to start from the back. There's a plug you're going to plug back in back there. And we're back here. There's this plug. This plug here. This will plug back into the back of the manifold there. So I'm just going to do that. Just bear with me. There it is there, plug back in. Plug back into the back of the manifold. All you got to do now is line the manifold back up and reconnect all the air hoses. camera down for a second. I'll line this back up. Now there's air hoses that run underneath the manifold, so you can be careful not to pinch down. Yeah, that's it. Begin by plugging that air hose back in. And this part here that you gotta screw back on. You got the 10mm. And then out here sits. Yeah. Let's grab a 10mm. That's it. Just go ahead and plug all the hoses back in. One here. Cover the contact over here. There's a hose there. Back to this side. There's this hose here that goes back in this side. And then this hose is back here. It's got a clamp on it. You just need to get up some pliers to put this hose back on. That's that hosing. That should stay in there. Right, now that all the hoses are done, I'll now be securing the manifold back in place. Now I've got all my bolts for it in order, so they're just easy to put back in. So the inlet manifold bolts are 13mm. The smallest one goes at the front, and the next two big ones. And for the other side, the smallest one goes on the back. Use the palm of the butt. And the other two go to the front. Now there's no bolt in this hole. Okay, so I've finished screwing down the inner manifold. Now I'm gonna put the intake, the air filter assembly back on. Now you're gonna plug the mass airflow sensor back in to the side here. That's a mass airflow cable. The sensor's in there. And don't forget to plug your throttle cable back in. There's the throttle cable. Goes back in there. Then there's an air breather pipe that goes to your intake. Goes around here, and goes in there. I am planning on getting an oil catch can for this car because I got a massive build-up of oil in there. Now I'm just going to put you down. I'm going to be cleaning this filter soon. I've got the kit to clean it. I'm going to be cleaning this filter in the next couple of days. I've got the cleaning kit here. What we need to do now is do up the air in the hose. Take the ones out. And the job is nearly complete. All I need to do now is put some new coolant in and I'll be running it. Now to do the coolant drain plug up again, just get under the car and redo it up. What is there? Doing it up. Doesn't need to be too tight. Is it there? It's all done. It's not hot coolant. There's actually quite a bit of coolant in there, even though it was leaking majorly, which is quite surprising. It did not overheat, but I did notice that the temperature was going higher than normal, but then it would drop down again pretty quick actually, which is why I suspected there was another problem with the coolant leak. So now all I have to do now is fill it up with some new coolant, and I'll be running it to see if it still starts. So I'm just going to fill it up with some coolant and I'll film it running. Alright guys, it's still running. I'm just bleeding all the air out of the cooling system. Let all the air bleed out of there, otherwise you'll have an airlock. But yeah, it's just running good, and I cannot see any more water, any more coolant leaking out. And they're fresh coolant anyway. So yeah, I'm just going to wait till all the air bleeds out, and I'll put the cap back on, and we'll be laughing. It's a pretty easy task to do, just replacing those seals, and I saved myself quite a bit on labour by just paying about 30 bucks for those seals and doing it myself. It took me about an hour or so to do, mainly because I was filming as well, which took a bit of time. But yeah, hope this helps someone out there, and there's no check engine errors or anything out of this job, which is good. So yeah, it's pretty good. A few air bubbles coming up. Make sure that those air bubbles have stopped before you put the cap back on, otherwise you have an airlock. When you're doing this, make sure you have the aircon on, preferably on full blast on the heater, to open up the thermostat and to fill up the whole heating core to get the rest of the air bubbles out of there. And thanks again for watching.